Hi, welcome to the optional extra video for the Hindustan Ambassador. And after doing the whole video and processing it, I realized that this this sign, which is a really nice Morgan sign, it's made of metal, it's very nice. I put it up here and you can see that it just like reflects all the lights that I've got here, so it looked terrible. So I thought, well, I'll take it off for the optional extra video. Anyway, on to the actual part of the video. So the Hindustan Ambassador obviously is based on the Morris Oxford, and those early Alec Izagonis styled cars really shouldn't be underestimated. So he made the Morris Minor, he made the Morris Oxford, and they're both very similar looking, but they were very, very popular cars after the war, particularly the Morris Minor, of course. Went on to sell very well. Both models went on to sell very, very well. Very good designs, used the B series engine, which was used up until 1986. Partly because BL was doing so badly, but also because, it was an engine that worked and just kept on going. There was that one minor Morris Minor snafu with the fact that the body was had to be widened to make the car work, and you can actually see that not just in the line that goes down the car, and it's a very famous story, but also the bumpers, the front and rear bumpers, have these little extra plates on them to make them just that little bit wider. It's one of those sort of slight problems that they managed to fix and get working, but ended up being a problem for the Minor throughout its life. So in researching this video, there was a lot of websites that talked about the corruption between Hindustan Motors and the Indian government, and I didn't really include it in the video because there's no real evidence for what was going on, but it certainly is true that there's a lot of corruption in India, and backhanders are given to different people and preferential treatment is given to different companies. And of course, it's interesting that Hindustan Motors, with the Ambassador, ended up basically getting a monopoly in the market during the 1950s. But even so, the Padmini and the Triumph Herald both became competitors to the Ambassador. They were both very good cars, but they didn't outsell it. So there was obviously something about the Hindustan Ambassador that people liked and wanted to do. So despite all the potential corruption issues, which again I have no evidence for, there may or may not have been corruption, but the Hindustan Ambassador was a hit with customers. And so we moved to the 1990s, and Hindustan Motors tried to import the Ambassador into the UK, and there's all these problems with rust and stuff, because of course in India there isn't so much of an issue with rust. A company called Karma Cabs end up taking a whole load of these Ambassadors and making this custom taxi service, this cool taxi service. Their logo on the website it's based on the Taoist belief that the journey is more important than the arrival, and they have all these flowers on the car, and it's all very cool inside. They've been around since the late 1990s, and it's a really nice idea, and they're still going today. It's a fun change from doing a regular Uber, I suppose. But by the time in the early 1990s, when these cars were being imported, the Morris name had already disappeared from British roads. The last Morris to appear in the UK was the Morris Ital in the 80s. So it was interesting that the Morris Oxford, this thing from the 1940s and 50s, which had been created back then, has sort of reappeared in the late 1990s. Hindustan Motors obviously were trying all the time to try and move to the next generation vehicle, and it's interesting that they didn't do better with the Vauxhall Opel Corsa. I can understand why the Astra didn't sell so well. It's a fairly large car, and people were going for the Maruti Suzuki Alto, the 800, that sold very, very well. And if you go to India, all you see, even today, there's so many little Maruti Suzukis zipping all around the country. You would think that the Corsa would do really well. It's a very similar size car. It's a very reasonably priced car, but for some reason didn't do that well. I'm not sure why. If anyone knows why, then please let me know in the comments. It was only when putting together this video that I got that spy image of what the new Hindustan Ambassador would look like, the new Citroen version. And then I started going looking for pictures of the Citroen C Elise, not the Elise as they call it, the Elise. And I find literally exactly the same photograph. So if you notice in the video, I sort of, I fade from one, the mock-up to the Citroen C Elise. And so it's interesting. It looks like basically someone's just done a Photoshop job on the thing. So whether Citroen are actually working on it, whether this was a concept that they did, who knows what the massive Stellantis group will do with the whole Ambassador branding. At the moment there's no evidence that they're doing anything, but hopefully in a few years maybe we'll see something interesting. As far as Hindustan Motors go, I think officially they're still around. I'm not exactly sure about that because their website just hasn't been updated. The last media reference, news reference, is from 2013, and there's still links to the Ambassador site, which doesn't exist anymore. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Hindustan Motors. So I found this promotional footage of the Morris Minor where the car goes along the road, does a 180 and then stops right by the camera, and it's obviously, you know, a shot they were trying to establish, but they tried so many times to get it right. And I'll hit play here. So first of all, they try and hits the curb. Okay, not perfect. Second time, okay, and there's pedestrians in the way. So that doesn't work. Third time, we'll try again, see if we can get it right. And goes and hits the curb again. Fourth time, and there's cars coming. So, and we also hit the curb. So let's try somewhere else. Try somewhere in a different street. But no, still hits the curb. So finally they're trying to do it, and there's so much traffic that the car just has to stop. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, you notice that at one point I was doing bloopers at the end of videos, and I stopped doing them because they got rather repetitive. I only make the same kind of mistakes, and I only say the same kind of things after I'm making mistakes. So eventually it was just getting a bit silly, but there were a couple of bloopers that I made in this video which I thought I would share with you now as they're a little bit more interesting. Hindustan Motors leapt on the chance to buy up the old tooling for the Series 2 car and sell it as the new Hindustan Lambasta. It was imported back to the UK as the full-bore Mark X, hoping to appeal to those who remembered the original Morris Oxford or expat engines. In 1994, a deal was done again with General Motors to produce the Volkswagen? Probably not with General Motors. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the Hindustan Ambassador video and the optional extra, and I'll see you in the next video.